Hello students, I'm Himani Sharma, your UGC NET educator, and in this new YouTube video that I have brought forth for you, we are going to move forward with the Indian novelists that we were doing. So in the previous lectures, in the previous YouTube videos, we have covered several of them, out of which we have talked about Raja Rao Mulkraj Anand, right? And we have talked about several other novelists as well. So, Bankim Chandra Chatterjee was also covered. In today's video, we are going to talk about a new writer altogether. So, who will be that writer for this new concept series in this new very video? We have Manohar Malgaonkar, right? So, first of all, where was he born and when did he pass away? All these factual details I have in store for you. So, let's just see. So, first of all, this is his picture, and he was born in the year 1913 and he passed away in the year 2010. Before jumping on to what other details that I have for you here, we should always know, starting of a writer, that where was he born. So, he was born in Mumbai and he was Marathi, by his lineage. Coming to when he passed away, he started in between his life, he started living in Karnataka. So, of course, the place where he passed away was Karnataka. Correct? So, this is what we had first of all. Now, jumping on to the other facts which are related to him. Why is he majorly, and what are the things that the themes that he covers through his novels, through his works? He talks about history, and he talks about history with some kind of political undertones which are hidden beneath the novel if a person is reading it carefully. So you as a reader also need to actively participate, because some stances will be given uprightly to you, but some things will be hidden. So for that very thing, you also need to participate in an active manner. Coming to the second point that I have for you, that he wrote for Indian newspapers as well. So this is something which is really important from NET point of view, because at times they usually ask you that if a writer was associated with a magazine or a newspaper or a periodical, so on and so forth. So you all should be knowing that Manohar Malgaonkar, as far as he is concerned, he was associated with two newspapers, the Statesman and the Deccan Herald, correct? And he wrote about the themes which were Indian in nature and the Indian characters. So whatever you will find in his novels, you will try to see that the sphere that he talks about, the area, the surroundings near or in between in his novels, they are majorly Indian in nature. And adding to this very point, Manohar Malgaonkar, he himself was a person who was, the one who served in the army. He served in the Indian army. But how did he serve? He was not physically the person who was supposed to attend, or appear for a war, but he was in the intelligence corps. Correct? So basically, he never really participated in a war, but yes, he was, when it comes to his, paradigm which was related to how he served in army, he was basically related, or talking about, if we talk about him, he was mostly related to the intelligentsia. Correct? So certain facts we all know. Now, the first novel that we are going to touch upon, written by Malgaonkar, is The Distant Drum, correct? It was his first novel, and it is the one which touches upon the theme of being a military novel. So, we do not have much material available on the in-depth analysis, but yes, as I always tell, you all should be doing the summaries on your own. Correct? So coming back to his first novel, Distant Drum, very important from the NET point of view. The experiences of an army life and the soldiers' spirit de corps. Now, spirit de corps means that when the soldier or any person holds on to the spirit of being obligated, being dutiful towards what they want to achieve, basically. Correct? So this novel, as I told you in the previous slide, where we were talking about the factual information related to Malgaonkar, we also taught, right, that he was one of the people who himself was the one serving in the army. But because of the fact that he did not serve physically, he tried to reflect, he tried to make or fulfill his wish of serving in an army physically through his novel. So we all say that wishes do come true, and he made his wish come true by inventing a character, by portraying a character which was Indian in an Indian army, and of course who was serving there physically and not just in the strategic or the intelligentsia plans which were there. So this is the cover page of the novel Distant Drum. Now we have the protagonist named as Kiran Garud, and we have another person, out of the main characters that we have, that is Abdullah Jamal, who is a Muslim, and Kiran is what? Kiran is a Hindu. So it is basically dealing with the Burma, right? The Burma fights which were happening, the Burma war which was happening, and of course because of the fact that it's dealing with those very things, we see the spiritually corps phrase that I used here is used for at least these two people who were being dutiful, who were being respectful and responsible for their own spirit. And of course this novel deals with how the Indian military code of conduct is there, how to practice it. What all things are you supposed to have when serving in an army? Correct? So this is a story of Kiran Garud, who is the protagonist, who is serving in an army, and Abdullah Jamal, who is also serving in an army but is a Muslim friend of Kiran Garud, and how they mutually maintain respect for each other through the war. That is also one thing which is noticeable here. Correct? Next novel that we have here is Combat of Shadows, which is the second novel of Malgaonkar, and it was published in the year 1963. So all the factual information keep on jotting down. Life on a tea estate in Assam, like Mulkraj Anand's Two Leaves and a Bud, which could be a question asked in the NET examination, because here the comparison is being drawn with Anand's Two Leaves and a Bud, where we talked about how there was Sajani, right? How there was the main protagonist, etc., and how he, saves his daughter Leela from getting raped by a military or a plantation officer, Reggie. That was a story of Two Leaves and a Bud that we did when we were covering Mulk Rajanand in one of the previous videos. In this very video, if we are talking about Combat of Shadows, we are talking about the racial discrimination. That how on the basis of color, how on the basis of complexion, Britishers were treating the Indians. And the same setting of Assam is here in the tea plantation. That is why it is being compared. But yes, whatever and however the Britishers were treating the Indian people in Two Leaves and a Bud, it is being seen here as well, but on a much, much deeper level, right? So Malgaonkar deals with these very things of racial discrimination on a deeper level, as Anand did, right? It explores the tragic implications of racial discrimination, already covered as a theme I told you, and the tale of one such Anglo-Indian woman who dreams of becoming a Pakka Mem Sahib to an Englishman, right? So it's the story of this very Anglo-Indian woman who wants to marry, right, a British officer, and what she faces, because she is the one who's suffering, who's dealing with the racial discrimination which is being done by whom? Which is being done by the plantation officers themselves, right? So has to face the reality of racial discrimination prevalent in the pre-independence India. So the setting that you have here is not after independence but before independence, when the Britishers were still here in India. Now let's see the cover page, Combat of Shadows. Right now, just see how beautifully they have even made the cover page of this very novel. That one cup is white in color, the other one is black, to talk about the theme of racial discrimination And of course, if we talk about racial discrimination, if some of you would have done literary theory, the post-colonial literary theory as well, we read Franz Fanon's, right? The Wretched of the Earth. All these things where we are talking, we are comparing the binaries together. And what are the binaries here? The binaries here are shown in the image white and black. And the black, of course, referring to the Indians, and the white referring to the foreigners or the Firangis that we had. So you see how even the beautiful cover page is also designed here, correct? Next, we have the characters here. Characters are Henry Winton, the plantation manager for a British tree company, which we already talked about in Assam, right? And we have Ruby Miranda, the Anglo-Indian women that we were talking about in the previous slide. And she's also a teacher, right? A school teacher in the estate school. So the plantation officers, right? They also have a school, and she is the one who teaches there. And then we have Sudden Dart. Sudden Dart is the boss of Henry, who tells him that yes, you need to maintain a distance from Ruby Miranda because of the fact that you should know that the thin line that separates from fun from serious involvement. So he's telling Henry to stay away from Ruby because of the fact that yes, you need to know what is good for you and what is not. And fun from involvement, from serious involvement, here he's referring to it's okay to use women for your physical benefits, but you should not let that women be seriously involved in your life, maybe as your girlfriend or your wife. You should not put tags, right? And because of the fact why he was doing that? He was doing that because of the fact that yes, we Britishers are superior and the Indians are inferior. They are uncivilized and there is no match. So do not be seriously involved in this very thing. So Henry Winton, we talked about, both of these people, they get involved, and Ruby Miranda is the one who eventually starts liking, develops feelings for Henry. And later on, Henry shuns her off on the advice of his boss, Sudden Dart. And we also see that how through the course of this novel, we see that Sudden Dart also is the one who impregnates a woman, right? Because of him, a woman, an Indian woman, gets pregnant because of his fun that he wanted to have with her physical body. So you see that how the Indian women were being used as commodities here in this very novel, that yes, they are inferior, we can just use them for fun. So that very theme is being talked about here, and it has also been talked that no, you should not take responsibility of your actions. You should engage in fun, but yes, stay away from any kind of serious involvement, any kind of commitment from your end, correct? So forcing him to reject Ruby's proposal, who eventually proposes to Henry to get married to her, and so on and so forth. So you see that he also, Sudden Dart, when he impregnates an Indian woman who works at the plantation, he shuns her away by giving her some amount of money. So you see that for the pleasure of body that they are having, they are paying for it. They are degrading that very feelings that particularly a woman might have for anyone, correct? Then we have, this novel has been asked multiple times in the UGC NET examination. So we have the next novel here, which is known as The Princes, not the princess, Princes, correct? Third novel published in 1963, an epic saga of our contemporary history. The title itself suggests that it talks about the heritage of the princes that we had. Right, so we used to have, India used to have princely states where usually Rajas, princes used to rule. So after the Britishers came, and now eventually when the power started coming in their hands, how the princes of various states suffered as well. This is what is the one thing that Malgaonkar tries to deal with in this very novel. About the princes who were on the verge of losing their roots, of course, takes up the ticklish question of their identity, that who am I now? Where is my power gone? These questions are being asked by the princes to their own selves as well, right? So the identity crisis you can see here shows remarkable ability to present an insider's view of princely life because of the fact that the chaos that goes around in a prince's head, because he now is on the verge of losing his entire state, his entire power, right? The protagonist is Abhay Raj, the Prince of Begwad, who is the only heir of his father. Now, of course, his father is the one who used to rule in Begwad. So he is the prince, and after him there is no one. And of course, because of the advent of the Britishers, in India, these people started taking powers of the princes. Correct. So we see that how he is also in that identity crisis, that who am I going to be now? If I am not going to the prince, who am I going to be then? Story begins in the post-independence India, but the narration shifts back to the past as well. So Abhay reflects on his life throughout the course of his novel, right? This is the overview of the story, the protagonist that we talked about. And this is the cover page. The story of a royal father and son caught in a struggle for survival in India's new democracy, right? So after the independence as well, when the princely states were, the ones which were not having their entire power there, what happened to them? And even in the past, when the Britishers started coming here in India, they were residing in India, how they were just using these very people from like pyado ki tarah, right? They were using these people as pawns only, right? The princes. So Manohar Malgaonkar, and you see the beautiful image here that we have. A bend in the Ganges. Ganges is Ganga, Ganga Mata, River Ganga, right? Fourth novel, published in the year 1964, has the freedom movement, partition, and the resultant violence as the main theme. So what do we have in here? What do we have as the topic and the theme here is that how for the partition, some people were willing to fight with violence. Some people were the one who were thinking that no, non-violence should be there. So who were those characters? We'll be talking about them as well. First of all, let's just see the cover page, right? The bend in the Ganges. So in a bend in the Ganges, we have Jian Talwar, Devi Dayal and Shafi Usman. This is not the Jian, Main Bada Turila, etc., right? Not the one from Doraemon, of course. This is the person, and the other two that we have here are the protagonists. These three people together are the protagonists of the novel A Bend in the Ganges. So this is protagonists who is very much influenced by Gandhi's theory of non-violence. As far as the other people such as Devi Dayal and Shafi Usman are concerned, they are the ones who are like, if we want something, we will have it through violence as well. So the opposite views of some people dealing with the partition in a non-violence way, and the other people who are asking for their rights even by snatching them from the British, right? So all these opposition views are also described here in this very novel, A Bend in the Ganges, right? They also use the slogan important, Jai Ram, Jai Rahim slogan to equate their feeling towards secularism, because of the fact that they are also trying to promote the Hindu-Muslim ideology, the Hindu-Muslim secularism through their slogans as well. So you are supposed to note this very thing down as well. Next is The Devil's Wit. It was published in 1972 and a historical novel. In the previous slides only, we talked about that how Malgaonkar deals with things on his own through a political stance, through certain political undertones which are there in his novel. So this is also one of them. And it is about Nana Sahib Peshwa's role in India's first war of independence. So when was the first war of independence? When did it happen? It happened in the year 1857 with the Sepoy mutiny that was there, right? The revolt of 1857, which we famously know it as. So how was Nana Sahib described? At that point of time, Nana Sahib was described as a monster by the British. But Malgaonkar, through his novel The Devil's Wind, is trying to change the perspective and trying to talk, make Peshwa Bajirao, Peshwa Nana Sahib, Peshwa, talk through his own words, right? Describing his points of view and fighting for his country. So the monster which was depicted by the British in their own words is the one who was not really in the picture. He was just and just being patriotic and fighting for the freedom of his country and was not a monster per se, right? So Nana Sahib, who was condemned by the British as the villain of the mutiny. So just to present a different point of view through his novel, he brings Nana Sahib's own words. He tries to talk from his point of view and tell that why did this mutiny happen, what were the reasons, etc. Right? So this is it. This is the cover page. Then we have Cactus Country, published in 1992. It is also a historical novel. Again, based on army life, one of the important themes that Malgaonkar tries to relive through his own, accounts, because he could not really participate in a war, right? So all those things depicted in his novel and deals with the birth of Bangladesh. How Bangladesh emerged as a different country altogether. So this is the cover page here. A poignant saga of Whaler, shifting loyalties, love and loss amidst the 1971 Bangladesh war. This is the setting that we have. Correct? Then we have certain non-fiction as well, which is written by Malgaonkar. We'll take a look at it. These are not prominently asked in the examination, but of course, if you are covering a writer through these concept series, you should also know the lesser known facts as well about him. So he also, apart from the fictional novels that he wrote, he also wrote certain non-fictional works. Kanoji Angre, right? Poets of Devas Senior, 1962. Chhatrapatis of Kolhapur, 1971. The Men Who Killed Gandhi, 1978, based on Gandhi's assassination. The Garland Keepers, 1986, based on the emergency that happened in India, right? Assassination of Gandhi. Correct? Now, one or two questions that I have for you for today's video is, first question is, Manohar Malgaonkar was a hunter, a lieutenant colonel in the British Army and a tea planter. He also wrote a memorable novel about the Sepoy Mutiny, especially Peshwa Bajirao II. What is that novel? We have covered that very novel through this very video only, and I hope you are able to answer this one. The answer to this question is option D, The Devil's Wind, which tries to talk about from the point of view of whom? Peshwa Bajirao, right? Who was considered a monster or a villain by the Britishers, right? Who among the following has written the book The Men Who Killed Gandhi? Pretty simple, just covered it in the non-fiction. It is written by option C, that is Manohar Malgaonkar. So this is what we were supposed to do in today's video of YouTube concept series, which are related to English literature, and we covered through the course of lecture entirely as much as possible. We tried to cover Manohar Malgaonkar. And in the upcoming videos, we'll be moving forward with certain other important writers as well. So you all need to stay tuned, keep on following, and of course, you can revisit these very videos, or you can watch the previous videos which are covering different writers as well. I'll see you again in a new video. Till then, keep on smiling, keep on studying. Thank you so much and have a good day.